Just a couple of nanos of THC from marijuana in your blood system and a couple people in your car that die in a collision, that'll get you 30 years in Indiana. I'm Matt Chappell, and I've been an Indiana defense attorney since 1995, and I'm helping people navigate the mess of this criminal justice system. I create free videos like this to help folks like you navigate the criminal justice system, give you a better understanding so that you don't get lost in the mess. If you'd like to learn more, check out my website or the channel. In this week's video, we're discussing the Indiana marijuana laws and what most people don't know about them, especially people that don't live in Indiana. I've represented many people in Indiana who have been driving on I-69 or just normal highways, and they get picked up for DUI. And typically it takes about 3 months to 6 months for a blood test to come back. And even though there's just a little bit of THC in their system, they are nevertheless getting hammered for that. And it even gets worse. If there's a collision and somebody gets hurt, now you're looking at not just a misdemeanor, but now you're looking at a felony. And if somebody dies, you can have potentially 10 years added to your sentence. Indiana has some of the strictest laws in the nation regarding marijuana. And unfortunately, Indiana is surrounded by 3 states where marijuana is available. So we know that if a person is driving under the influence of alcohol, that within a couple of hours, their blood alcohol content will have metabolized to the point where they are under 0.08. But when it comes to marijuana, the THC remains in the blood system for several days. And even though a person may not be under the influence to the point where driving is impaired, if you end up getting in a collision and somebody gets hurt, you will be facing felony charges. And it doesn't matter as to how much THC is in your system if somebody gets killed. You have it in your system, you will pay that price. And that is exactly what happened to the individual that I was referring to at the beginning of this broadcast. Now that is just one example, and an extreme one at that, about how you can be charged in Indiana, but there are many other ways you can get in trouble with marijuana. So unlike alcohol, where if you're driving and it is not open, you can't get in trouble for, but if it is open container, then you're in trouble. Marijuana, regardless of whether the marijuana is open or sealed, you will have a drug charge. So let me tell you one of the craziest things that I had happen. A client from up in Michigan was looking to purchase a vehicle, and he saw one on Facebook Marketplace. So he decided that he would contact the owner of the vehicle, and the owner of the vehicle happened to live in Indiana. So he contacted the seller, and the seller told him the price. The client said, I don't like that price. Will you take something in trade? And since he lives in Michigan, and he was growing his own pot, he decided to offer the seller marijuana in exchange. So the seller says, sure, I'll take that. Meet me in Indiana at the truck stop. And when my client got there, the cops were already there because the seller actually was a sheriff's deputy who was legitimately trying to sell his vehicle. But he decided he'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Look, Indiana laws about marijuana aren't just strict, they're inflexible. But if you do come to Indiana with marijuana and you get caught, here's what I would recommend. They pull you over and they tell you that they want to search your car. You tell them, not without a search warrant. Number 2, follow all instructions. Do not disobey the officer. And if you are arrested, you need to tell that officer that you want to talk to an attorney. And if the officer asks you to take a breathalyzer, you consent. And if the officer asks you if they can draw your blood, you consent. Because if you do not consent, they'll just call up a judge and tell the judge they want a warrant to take your blood, and they'll go ahead and they'll get it anyways. And the next thing you know, your driving privileges will be gone for at least 1 year. And most importantly, this is exactly the reason why you get an experienced defense attorney, because you have constitutional rights. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to force them to get a search warrant before they search your car. And then the attorney can take it from there. If you or someone you know has been charged with a crime, contact my office. Schedule a consultation and we'll spend 30 minutes going through your situation. And then we'll talk about what you can do about it at no cost to you. And most importantly, do not come into Indiana with weed in your car.